The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Forum for Nonprofits, presented as a public service by the Beasley Broadcast Group, hosted by a representative of the Spirit of Giving Network. To volunteer for the Spirit of Giving Network, call 561-385-0144. Now, here's today's show.
Hey, welcome, nonprofit community. This is Cara Zimmerman. I am the radio host today and very excited to share yet another wonderful nonprofit. We'll talk about it in a moment, but I wanted to thank the Spirit of Giving Network. They are so wonderful. They do great work in our community. They support over 60 nonprofits in their membership-driven network, helping each one of them grow and support them with information, networking, and sponsoring this wonderful radio show so that we can share what's going on in the community, the good work that a lot of times we don't get a chance to hear about. So I am very, very excited to share with you a mom who had no idea she could start a nonprofit, but under circumstances that we'll hear about, rather forced you to get going and getting a nonprofit for her daughter's cause. And I'm with Jennifer Smith, and she started SilvieBells.com. And Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you.
I've learned so much. Tell us, at first I was telling you, I thought Silvie Bells sounds like, well, maybe it's a holiday nonprofit. Maybe they give out silver bells at Christmas, but I was way off. I was about off the moon, so far off. So tell us about it. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Well, my daughter, Silvana Quinn Smith, who we call Silvie, was born December 14th, 2015, during the holiday season.
There you go. Was that why it was Silvana? No, it has nothing
we
to
had
do.
decided on the name, months beforehand.
Is it a family name or just you loved the name?
We just thought it was beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And we thought Silvie would be a cute nickname.
Yes.
Quinn after the Bob Dylan, the Mighty Quinn song.
Oh, yes.
So I had a normal pregnancy, and when she was born, she actually had the cord around her neck, and she had meconium aspiration, which, if you don't know what meconium is, it's a nice way to say baby poop. It's like a thick black tar. So she had aspirated on that. Her cord was completely black when she was born and wrapped around her neck. And so that led to a condition called persistent pulmonary hypertension of the newborn.
Well, that's a lot to have to know right when you're giving birth, what your daughter has. And you were telling me for those 9 months or 41 weeks that you were pregnant with her, you did everything right? As a mom, first-time baby.
First-time mom, didn't eat lunch meat for the nitrates, didn't eat, sushi, exercised a little bit but not too much and tried to do everything right. And she was born at 41 weeks, so she was actually a week late.
So she even had more time to get all of your wonderful nutrients
exactly.
and mom attention.
So when she was born, we didn't have the diagnosis right when she was born. She was just taken right to the NICU. And, we were told later that day what her condition was.
How did you feel? What was it like?
Oh, it was so scary. They took her away right when she was born, so I didn't have that magical birth experience of having, your baby laid on your chest and the magic that they show in the Pampers commercial. And
yes,
they took her away.
The baby.
Yeah.
She's all wrapped, swaddled, and
no swaddle. We didn't have that. They took her away, and I didn't see her actually for almost 9 hours. And they wouldn't tell us what was going on. And so it was just, frantically calling the NICU, asking what was wrong. And then they told us.
Oh, how horrific. Jennifer.
I delivered at Holy Cross in Fort Lauderdale, but they had a level 2 NICU that wasn't qualified to care for her. So they actually transported her down to Davie to Broward Health, Sala Children's Hospital, who had a level 3 NICU that could better care for her. So she was taken in an ambulance, and I couldn't go with her.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling this trauma. That's traumatic.
Yeah.
You certainly didn't
try to get through the story without.
Yeah, let's try, but I don't know.
It was it was very traumatic. So she was at Broward Health, and she was on life support. She was induced into a coma. She was paralyzed for about 3 weeks. We couldn't touch her, hold her. We had to speak very softly. They tried to recreate the womb while she was on life support.
Because to try to give her some more time?
And then they weaned her off the meds about 3.5, 4 weeks. She was actually put on methadone, which, a lot of your listeners probably heard that drug before, because the meds that she was on to keep her paralyzed, the paralytics, were such high doses. To get her off of those, she had to put on methadone, which they give to heroin addicts. That's how powerful of a drug it is. That's how bad her withdrawals were. And so seeing that was just as difficult as everything else.
Can you imagine? How do you prepare for that?
You don't.
There's no book on this.
Nope.
You are weeding through the weeds of trauma from your child.
I've often said I'm going to write another chapter to, the pregnancy Bible, what to expect when you're expecting, what to expect in the NICU. I feel like they need that last chapter, and one day I'm going to write it. But
yes, Jennifer.
Yeah. So she had a 10% chance of survival. She was in
They just came in and tell you, we think your daughter has a 10% chance of survival. That's pretty slim.
There were days where they said, we're living moment to moment right now. So, it was especially hard to have to go home to sleep or to eat, knowing that what if she's not there? What if we get that phone call? So they said we were moment to moment. They actually didn't put out the number of 10% until after she was discharged. But they told us it was life-threatening. They told us she was critical. They told us we couldn't get her stable. So we knew it was bad.
What kind of support did you have during that time? You probably didn't want to leave her side, but you needed to get some sleep.
I would go out to the parking garage and sleep in my car because you can't sleep in the NICU. I would go home. The hospital is about an hour from our home, so I would go sleep for a few hours. Silvie's dad, Caleb, my husband, was amazing, and he was, going through it with me. My family and friends were awesome. They would drop off food on our doorstep. I would go home at midnight and there'd be a casserole sitting there with a note, from a neighbor or from a friend. When she actually was discharged, I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't cleaned my house in 49 days.
Oh, yeah.
She has respiratory issues. What am I going to do? And our friends and family stepped up, came over, cleaned our whole house top to bottom. I mean, they even vacuumed the curtains, just everything. Stocked our fridge with food. So our family and friends support was amazing.
Yeah, because a lot of times, obviously, we don't know what to do. And they just stepped up and did it, which is so important. And you didn't even have to ask. They were just doing it.
They were amazing. Yeah, they were amazing.
I'm glad that happened for you.
Thank you.
Me
too.
Wow. Well, what about, so she's in NICU. You must have met a lot of other moms that were in the similar situation, all sitting with their children.
We did. With Silvie, her condition, she was born sick. She wasn't born early. There were a lot of preemies in the NICU with us. There was another baby that had persistent pulmonary hypertension. In the pod, just a few cribs away from Silvie. She actually passed New Year's Eve, 2015, 2016. And so, we just had those moments of, why is Silvie here? And, this baby isn't. And that's just so common in the NICU. You go in and you see, we call them her roommates, there's a crib or an isolate not more than 3 feet away from her, and the baby's gone. And I would say to myself, well, I didn't see the parents watching the discharge video yesterday. I didn't see them learning the infant CPR yesterday. They probably weren't discharged, where's this baby or that baby? So it's very traumatic just to think of babies dying, and, you grow close with these moms over days and weeks and months, and the things that they're going through, you take on their burdens along with your own. I think talking to the fellow moms and dads there really helped get us through it for sure.
Because you all have this similar situation that, no one else does have or can understand.
Right.
And you were thrown in it. It wasn't like you volunteered.
Right.
There was definitely not something you wanted to be a part of.
It was a total surprise.
Yes. Yeah. And talk about not being prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, we had no idea. It was a total shock.
Trying to learn medical language and, maneuvering and managing that. And
I had a notebook on me 24/7, and I would journal everything that happened that day. What nurses were there, which were my favorite nurses, which were not my favorite nurses, what doctors were on rounds, what meds is she on, were they decreased, increased, all those things. There's just so much to remember.
And someday you'll probably give it to her at her wedding.
One of the nurses said, "You hold on to that notebook, and when she's 16 and complaining about not taking the car, you show her this."
What you went through to get her.
This is what we went through.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, I'm glad you kept a record. You'll want to look back one day, I'm sure, and remember, because you forget.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. I think that's why we have more than one child sometimes, because you forget the labor pains. So you go and do it again. And
right.
like, wait a minute. I remember this was not fun.
Right.
You forget terrible events. I mean, we have a way of coping, and that's just forgetting, not remembering.
Thank goodness.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you're sitting there and she's getting better, and you get to take her home.
Mm-hmm.
And before this whole thing, you told me that you were a realtor. So it had nothing to do with the medical world, or
oh gosh, no,
right?
No, I don't know any. I have no medical training whatsoever. I was a realtor, and grew up in South Florida. Didn't expect anything like this. It was a total surprise, but over those 49 days that she was in the NICU, we learned a lot, and we were really lucky to have, just certain items to help us through. Even just having my notebook where I wrote everything down. A couple of other moms said, "That's a good idea. I'm going to do that too." And the pacifier that she used, it has a little stuffed animal on it, and it's actually how she learned to use her arms, because she was paralyzed for so long. She couldn't bring her arms in what they call midline to do like the fetal position. Curled up, holding your hands by your chest, and her little pacifier that had an animal on it, she would hold it, and that's how she learned to use her hands. And so her occupational therapist said, "This is amazing. Other parents need to get this." And when she came home, we got her the Owlet pulse oxygen monitor, and it monitors a baby's heart rate and oxygen at home. It uses that little red light technology. If you've ever been in the hospital, they clip that red light on you. It uses that technology in a tiny little sock that you can put on their foot. So we had that to go home with. We were really blessed that we had just tools along the way that a lot of other families didn't have.
And with those tools, what did you decide to do, to create? You said, I've got to pay this forward. I have to do something.
Yes. When she was literally fighting for her life, I made a promise to the gods, to the universe, to her, to anybody that would listen. If you survive, I'll do something to pay it forward. And I knew I had to pay it back. If she lived, if we got her, it would just be a gift. And I needed to gift that, to other people. And I think about that saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole. And there's no atheist in the NICU when you're just praying that your child lives. And so after 49 days, she was discharged, healthy, happy.
Oh my gosh.
We did physical therapy for about 6 months, just, helping her get stronger. And in September of 2016, when she was 9 months old, NICU Awareness Month rolled around. And I had never heard of that. I didn't know that existed. I thought, oh, this is a thing. And, because I'm in some online NICU mom parent groups just, to vent and tell stories and whatnot. And so I saw NICU Awareness Month, and I remembered that promise that I had made, and I hadn't fulfilled it yet. And, I was too busy just being a new mom and figuring out what to do and how to do it and pumping and, just everything. And I remembered the promise I made, and I thought about how she was there during the holidays. Our first Christmas, our first New Year's Eve were spent in the hospital, and they were terrible holidays. So I wanted to make that brighter for people, and I thought about the amazing things we had to help us on our journey. And so I decided I would give that back to parents currently in the NICU. I would make them care packages with the Owlet pulse oxygen monitor, the Wubbanub pacifier, notebooks, water bottles for nursing moms to keep them hydrated, snacks, Kind bars, granola bars, candy.
You said you lived on a Kind bar, right?
Mm-hmm. We lived on Kind bars, and then there's a Starbucks and a Subway at the ground floor of the hospital.
Oh, wonderful.
And so, yeah, I ate that 6-inch turkey sub for about 49 days straight.
Do you ever want to see one of those again?
Probably not. And we do gift cards for the parents to Starbucks and to Subway.
That's terrific. We're going to take a quick break so we can hear more about how this Silvie Bells helps the NICU. Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
What if you got rewarded for every good decision? What if your heart had a special way of letting you know it appreciates your healthy choices?
Oh, I've got to get my family to eat more vegetables.
Amazing!
And instead of cooking with butter tonight, I think I'll saute our veggies with heart-healthy oil.
You're a genius! So really, would your food choices pay off in heart health? Did you know that when you replace bad fats with healthier fats, like those in canola or other vegetable oils, it can lower bad cholesterol levels, and that's good for your heart. Here's a winning idea. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Learn more at heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
Welcome back, nonprofit community. Thank you so much for joining this fascinating story with Jennifer Smith and Silvie about the Silvie Bells Foundation. SilvieBells.com. SILVIE, B like boy, ELLS.com. So Jennifer, tell us about that gift box, what bag box that what is in there? You talked about some gift cards and water and Kind bars. What else? Since you know personally what a mom and dad would need in NICU.
Right. One of our nurses actually called it the Nicu Survival Kit.
Which, that's great.
So
they never had that before.
Right.
You.
No.
Oh, wow.
So we do care packages. We put them in a big tote bag because we want parents to be able to reuse the bag that we give them for all their baby gear that they'll eventually have when they get out. The biggest thing we include is the Owlet pulse oxygen monitor because, you use video monitors. You can look in on your baby, but you don't know if they're asleep or if they've passed. They're just laying there with their eyes closed. This device is a tiny little, they call it a sock, and it slips on their foot. They can wear it under footy pajamas, and it sends a Bluetooth signal to this little, they call it a base station. It's no bigger than a tiny alarm clock on your nightstand. And God forbid, baby stops breathing or their oxygen goes down or their heart rate slows down. Anything goes wrong, it flashes red and sends out an alarm. But also on your phone, it will sound an alarm. And on your phone, there's an app for the Owlet, and you can open up this app anytime you want and look at your baby's heart rate and breathing anytime.
Oh, my.
It is amazing.
Goodness.
They retail at $300, but we have a great relationship with the Owlet family, and they sell them to us for $75, which is huge.
Wow. Is that something that any parent would want for their child on their foot, or is this specifically for?
I think any parent.
It sounds like any parent.
SIDS is the number one cause of death for newborns. For babies under 12 months old, more than pediatric cancer, more than car crashes, congenital heart disease. It's SIDS. And the only way to detect if your baby is breathing is with this Owlet monitor. So I encourage any parent to have it. It's peace of mind when your baby's sleeping. For us, it rang one night when Silvie's oxygen was in the 70s, and it rang. Anything upper 80s is okay, but it started dropping, and the Owlet rang in the middle of the night. It was 3 a.m. If not for it ringing, I would have had no idea. And she would have stopped breathing and she probably wouldn't be here today. So I credit this device for saving her. And, I've read hundreds of success stories with it. It's a lifesaver, literally. And so SIDS is the number one cause of death for babies under 12 months old. The risk for SIDS is 3 times greater in a NICU baby who's medically fragile. So it's really important to include this in our gift bag. And since it saved Silvie, I feel like it's a baby essential.
More than anything.
Yeah.
So you
absolutely.
come into the NICU with these bags. How often do you give the gift bags out?
We come during the holidays because that's when Silvie was there. Our first year was 2016, and we gave the gift bags away at Sala Children's Hospital, where Silvie spent her first couple months. Last year, we expanded to Bethesda East in Boynton Beach and Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami. This year, we're doing Nicholas, Bethesda, Sala Children's, and a 4th hospital in New Jersey. A NICU nurse wrote me on our website out of nowhere and said, I love what you do. I want to bring it to my hospital. And so we're officially out of state in New Jersey.
Wow, you're growing.
Yeah.
And what is the website that they're looking at?
SilvieBells.com. SilvieBells.com.
And Jennifer, how do you fund these bags? Because they don't sound cheap. I mean,
They're not.
It sounds like it's an expensive proposition. What you got in the bag?
Retail value about $500 a bag, because of the great relationships we have with Owlet, Webinub pacifiers, Water Wipes, who donate 100% of our wipes for free. Jackie's Preemie Pride, who makes little scent blankets. We have Swaddle for Swaddle. We have all these great relationships where we get 100% donated. So retail value about $500. What we pay out of pocket, just under $200.
Wow. And how many bags do you think this year you're going to give out?
120.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and more if we can.
Yeah.
But I have, 120. If we have any left over, then I'll give them for New Year's or for Valentine's Day. My goal is to be able to give gift bags away all year round, not just on holidays. I would love to have a warehouse full of gift bags and just drop them off, monthly would be amazing. But we're funded privately. We don't get any assistance from the government. So far, we don't have any relationships with corporate sponsors, although we hope to in 2019. That's a goal, is to make some business partnerships and get some good corporate donations going, if anyone's listening out there. And right now it's all private donations, friends, family, social media, just me hammering away on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
And when they go on the website, they can donate on the website?
Absolutely. We have PayPal. There's a yellow donate button on every page of our website, so it's super easy. And if people aren't comfortable donating online, which I know, a lot of people aren't, our email address is info@silviebells.com, and they can write us anytime to work out, a different way to give a gift.
I would think you have your garage or another room or something packed with all these items. And where do you bag your, where do you keep everything and bag everything? And do you need volunteers?
We, yes and yes. We
yes and yes and yes, Cara.
Yeah, our office and office closet around November, December just starts looking like a baby warehouse, just like a baby gear central. There's, just boxes upon boxes. And then the night before a give back, we set up long, but like buffet folding tables, line up all the stuff in an assembly line, and my husband Caleb and I go to town just packing, and we have it down to a science. We put on a mask, we put on latex gloves, because the NICU is so sterile, and we don't ever want to transmit anything. So we gear up and we pack the bags. Last year, I think we packed 50 bags in 20 minutes.
You have it down.
We have it down.
Yeah. You have it down.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction must be amazing at the NICU unit as far as receiving all these bags and the parents.
There's just as many tears as there are smiles that someone is coming in to just give them a little bit of cheer during the holidays. You know, you hear, when's baby coming home? Did you get a Christmas dress? You know, does he have his stocking hung? And you know, you hear all these things and you can only answer no. And it's so difficult. So they're very happy to have someone there that cares, especially at that time of year. It just seems like during the holidays, it's a little more painful. At least to us it was. You just want your baby home for Christmas or for Hanukkah or for the New Year. So we try to brighten them up. And, you know, we've also found over the last couple of years that parents also just want to talk. They want to hear my story about Silvie and how, you know, she had a very little chance of survival. You know, the odds were against us 90%. And I bring her every year. And, you know, now she's a crazy toddler. And last year when she had just turned 2, when we did our care packages and she was running around the hospital, and everybody said, oh my gosh, that's her? That's her? The same baby from the pictures? Oh my goodness. So they're inspired to see a baby that turned out well. And then they also want to share their story. And I recently learned the value of peer-to-peer counseling at the Preemie Parent Alliance Summit up in Washington, D.C. And talking to a veteran NICU parent and doing peer-to-peer counseling can decrease postpartum depression and PTSD by up to 70%. So this year we're going to bring along some fellow veteran NICU parents to do the give back with us, to just have a safe place for parents to talk and to heal and to, you know, have some water and cookies and juice. And, you know, we wish we could party a little bit with them. We set up a menorah and a Christmas tree and we hang lights and we try to give them just a little taste of the holidays.
Yeah, and only you, that song, only you know, because you went through this, to be able to have a peer-to-peer conversation.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Jennifer. I wish you all the best in this holiday and giving out those great bags. I really appreciate you coming. SilvieBells.com.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Forum for Nonprofits, presented as a public service of the Beasley Broadcast Group, hosted by a representative of the Spirit of Giving Network. To volunteer for the Spirit of Giving Network, call 561-385-0144. And tune in again next week for the Forum for Nonprofits. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.